Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. I'm Dr. Keller, and today we are discussing a serious addiction. And it is something that is on the rise all over the country. It's affecting lives, it's killing people, and what's worse, the government is doing very, very little to counteract it. This substance that people are getting addicted to can come in many forms. It's often found as a white powder. It's often found in a crystal form, and I'm sure you guys know what it is. Sugar. Not what you thought. Maybe you did. Maybe you're smarter than I am. But yeah, it's true. It is sugar. And if you were thinking about something like cocaine or methamphetamine, you're not far off, because the truth is that sugar is actually almost, if not more addictive than some of those drugs. They have done studies, and people will basically, or animals, lab animals will basically avoid all kinds of other things that they need just to get this substance, this crystal substance. So, it might not be what you thought about when it comes to addiction, but this is absolutely one of the main addictions that is affecting the health of our country. So, we've talked a lot about sugar over the last 3 episodes, if you watch these on our topic about obesity. But what is going on here? Because if you listen to some of the previous ones, sugar is what we need to survive. It fuels everything in our bodies. It allows us to move. It allows us to talk. It allows us to think. So why is it that something that is so important for life then becomes this absurd thing that is an addiction and then can kill us? Well, the answer goes way back to the primitive brain, the part way back here, before we had all of the other rational stuff. And basically, that primitive brain has a center, it's a pleasure center with a neurotransmitter called dopamine that just goes off, and that part of the brain just lights up when sugar comes around. And so that part of the brain really, it had a couple functions. It was just there to root our basic instincts in kind of getting feedback pleasure from things that were really important to human life. And that was basically eating and having sex. So, eat enough to procreate and, let's see what happens. Well, it worked. Humans, we ate a lot, we had a lot of sex, and now we are a very, very robust species that frankly is taking over the planet. So, it accomplished its mission. However, our modern society has evolved a lot faster than the human brain. And the food industry and a lot of other, things that are going on right now in our lifestyle, they're just not a good match for the way that our brains were basically formed. So, we now are realizing that there's some programming errors in how our brain was set up when we put it into the context of what's going on in our worlds today. So I'm going to let you in on a little dirty secret. You ready? Shh, don't tell anyone. The food industry is hijacking your brain. And this is not the stuff of conspiracy theories. I'm telling you, there are actually focus groups among the food industries that try to get, the most tasty little packet of druggy goodness, so it has the right texture and the right flavors and the right crunch, something like this, that it's just pure sugar, just pure that powdered form put into a little thing with a crunchy and a chewy center and everything. They're trying to figure out how to mix sugars and fats and texture enough so that you can't resist and you just have to keep eating it. They are quite frankly making profits off of making people sick. We talked about diabetes. There's a ton of diabetes in the country. There's all other disorders related to obesity. Again, like as I say all the time, if it weren't an issue, hey, I have a sugar tooth. Like it's been a thing. I've had it since a child. And I love me some candy and I love some sweets. And if it wasn't causing any problems, I'd say, well, just have at it, go for it. But unfortunately, that's not the case. We're starting to see across our population, and now as kind of the Western lifestyle starts to spread out over the world, we're starting to see it in other nations where the physical detriments of our diet and our lifestyle and the amount of sugar that we eat are really starting to wreak havoc on our health. So you may sense a little bit of a similarity here in what I'm about to say, but oftentimes these big companies and food industries will say, oh, well, it's not something that's meant to be had all the time. You're not supposed to, drink Coke all day long. You're supposed to have a little bit, and you're supposed to basically then have a bunch of other stuff. But at the same time, they're looking to see kind of what the most the way to make it the kind of most habit forming is. And they might say, oh, well, it's just a little, won't hurt you, and it's not very addictive. And that, to me, harkens back to maybe a couple other things that you may have heard along the way, back when maybe cigarettes were like, oh yeah, it's, it's not addictive, and just a little bit won't hurt you. Or things like pain pills, that's not, a little bit is under control, but it's not a problem. Well, we know in a lot of those instances that frankly, part of the business model and part of the way we're getting into it is hijacking your brain to making you obsessed and way into these sugary drinks and foods. So I want to talk a little bit about some of the worst culprits. I already pulled it up once, but sodas are one of the worst things. So we've got a Coke, and I find it a little bit ironic. Coke used to have another addictive substance in it that gave it its name, and that was taken away a long time ago and kind of replaced with one that frankly is, as we said, just as addictive as the thing that gave Coke its name in the first place. The issue with Coke, or the issue with some of these other things, even like sports drinks, is we are getting amounts of sugar that have been purified down to levels and concentrations that do not exist in nature. So, you used to have to climb a mountain and look for that orange tree and scale up the tree and pull that orange and peel it and eat it, and there you got some orange juice. Now you can get a whole vat of orange juice at the grocery store, or even order it on Amazon and it comes to your door. You don't have to do a bit of work, and you're getting this huge amount of sugar that your body just frankly wasn't wired to receive. So in effect, what they're doing is purifying something from its natural state down to something that's quite addictive and toxic. I remember I love to travel, and many years ago I was doing the Inca trails in Peru, and you're up at high elevation, and I'm hiking along, and one of the guides offered me coca leaves, and I was like, oh, what are these? And, oh, well, they're the leaves that you make cocaine out of. And I just thought, I'm a doctor, I don't know. And he said, no, it's totally harmless. It's like chewing a tea leaf. I was like, okay. And I did a little research, and it's true. You chew on a coca leaf, you're not going to get high. You'll get a little bit of, basically like a tea leaf buzz. But if you take that same leaf and you put it in a big canister and you add chemicals and gasoline and all these things that they do, and you process it, you get, something very akin to a white powder that is hundreds of times more habit forming than the actual natural product. So again, we're getting to kind of, almost like an illusion of cocaine and Coke to modern day Coke. So it's really important for people to be aware of that. And when you have these things that, again, have been processed to the point they don't have any fiber, they don't have any protein, they enter your bloodstream super fast. I mean, it is the equivalent of giving yourself like a sugar IV. And so you're really using this. It's like the difference between taking a pain pill or doing a shot of heroin. It's that quick of a rush. And our brains are like, oh my God, it's like pinball machine. I'm just going off and I want more. So let's talk about some of the manipulating tactics that can get us as a population kind of hooked on these things. Well, we talked about just the fact that sugar is addictive to begin with, but then there's some other things. There is high fructose corn syrup. And if you check the labels of like things like Oreos, or you check the label of Coke, here I'm gonna see here, there we go, carbonated water, not bad for you. Second thing, high fructose corn syrup. Well, what is high fructose corn syrup? It's not just corn, okay? It is basically taking corn and getting a syrup and then kind of chemically manipulating that syrup so that it's really, really sweet and really concentrated. And unfortunately, with high fructose corn syrup, it does not trigger our brain feedback loops the same way that regular sugar does. So if I drink a Coke, I don't get the glucose feedback thing that tells me, oh, I've had plenty of sugar, I don't need any more. Because the way high fructose corn syrup works is it just gets into your bloodstream and still causes that sugar rush, but not giving you the mechanism to say, wait, shut it down, stop. So that's one issue. And there's a lot of high fructose corn syrup in our country. It's everywhere. It's subsidized by the government. They're making it like, really inexpensive so they can put it in everything. It's a lot cheaper than using real sugar, for example. So that's one thing. A second thing, people are like, oh, well, what about artificial sugar? I've gotten off Coke, but now I'm doing like Coke Zero. Ooh, zero. Oh, that's good. 0 calories. Let's see, we've got carbonated water, we've got caramel color, so no high fructose corn syrup. We've got some other ingredients I frankly can't pronounce, and an aspartame, that's what we're putting in this one. So that's an artificial sugar. You might know sucralose, you might know them as, Splenda, things like that. But artificial sugars are not necessarily calorie free, okay? Because there are ramifications to them. The first thing is, when you have something like a Coke Zero, your brain, it's not smart enough to know the difference. So you taste sweetness, on your palate. Like, I'm just pop this open. All right, I'm do a little Coke Zero. Super sweet. For me, it's really sweet because I never do this. So I'm like, oh yeah, you come off Coke for a while, you taste one, you're like, how would you ever want to put this in your body? But for those of you who are used to it, you'll drink it. So you have a sip. No calories, right? No calories. But my brain goes, oh my God, and my palate goes, oh my God, there's sugar coming in. There's sugar coming in. And it sends a message to my pancreas, which is this organ kind of down here in my body, that says, put out the insulin. Put out the insulin, we got sugar coming. So your pancreas is like, okay, great, we're gonna do that. Your brain's like, more insulin, we got a huge rush of sugar coming. And that insulin goes into your bloodstream, and what does it tell your body to do? It says, get all the sugar that's there and store it as fat. So the reason you had the light soda was to not gain weight, presumably, and now your insulin is telling your body to basically make you fatter. And what it does is it takes all the natural sugar that should be in your bloodstream for, kind of your brain to work, and starts sequestering it as fat. And then your blood sugar drops, and what happens? I'm sure you guys have had like a blood sugar crash before. You get hungry and you reach for whatever you can, and it might be, Oreos. Or it might be, something else that has a lot of sugar in it because you're just so on edge because your blood sugar dropped. So I always tell people, look, like artificial sweeteners, I'm still like, grossed out right now by the fact I drank this, and I will be like probably sugar crashing in a matter of minutes. So if you see me like do that, that's why I did it for you. But I always tell my patients, like, stay away from artificial sweeteners. It corrupts your palate, and then you want everything to be super sweet, and it does not serve your presumed mission of like basically weight loss. And there are other tactics that the food industry uses. Marketing to children. You got to get the next generation hooked, or else your business model falls apart. So how about something like a big, beautiful, colorful cereal box? It's got unicorns. I mean, who doesn't want to see a unicorn? It's got rainbows. It's got a leprechaun. I mean, like, it has everything that a child would ever want. I mean, like, he was fantasizing for months about getting to eat a unicorn, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, they're all in there. This is a personal favorite of mine. I picked it because as a child, I loved Lucky Charms. I don't think we had quite like 1,800 charms in them. Like back then, it was just a couple. But I loved them. And it was bright, and it had games on the back. And, my mother, God bless her, she allowed us to have them. But like, this stuff is terrible for you. Terrible, terrible for kids. You've got, 10 grams of sugar, minimal fiber, lots of other carbohydrates. Let's see if there's high fructose. There's corn syrup, so not high fructose. So that's a good thing, But basically, this stuff is like not good for kids compared to so many other kinds of breakfasts you could be having. And I still look at it and I get like flashbacks. And You don't know how bad I want to tear into a bowl of Lucky Charms right now, especially with my blood sugar crashing after that diet soda that I just had. So stay away, keep your kids away. That would be my advice. Or how about like, look at the adorable label of this Coke. It's like mother panda with her like 2 baby pandas. She's just giving them Coke. It's a happy family. I mean, it might work for pandas, I don't know. Or I'm saying pandas, polar bears. Might work for polar bears. Maybe it's cold up there. They need all the sugar they can get in an ice landscape. But for us, this little kind of like photo here of the happy Coke family is really quite the opposite of what is happening to our bodies and our whole society with all of the sugar that we're putting in there. Let's see, what else are we going to talk about? You know, some of this marketing reminds me of the cigarette marketing they used to do to kids with the Camel boxes or those flavored tobaccos. You know, so I honestly feel like we should be angry about this. You know, we should be furious that our bodies and our health is being hijacked by our primitive brains. You know, we were wired a certain way for back when we were cave people, and now there's an entire industry and tons of companies that are trying to like hijack that, manipulate us with it. And so I want to tell you guys, be smarter than that. Don't let yourself fall into these traps. Make better choices. You know, you can't let the food industry win. You can't let sugar win. So if you don't want to go to the extremes of, you know, getting politically active and trying to get, you know, things changed within the options of what we have on the shelves, then at least make personal decisions for you and for your family to literally cut the crap out and go to healthier choices. So what are healthier choices? Well, we've got lots of things we can talk about. First of all, balanced meals and a good breakfast. And my favorite thing for breakfast, we got it right here, are eggs. Super simple, natural, totally not processed. And if you can go with something like, you know, a free-range organic style of egg, you know that there's not going to be hormones in it, antibiotics that were used. The chickens are happy. They're running through the fields. So that's great. And incidentally, the proper way to cook an egg, this one has not been cooked, is to soft boil it. Or if you are going to fry an egg, to not get it crispy, to not char it, to not like have the yolk turn to like a hockey puck. Okay, you want it soft boiled, maybe 6 to 8 minutes is perfect. I like to put an egg in a pot of water, turn it on, and the second it reaches a boil, turn it off and just let it sit there. And really that will get you a perfect temperature, and all of the nutrients that are in that egg are going to be much better for you. You're not going to corrupt them with the heat. So what else we're going to talk? So yes, healthy breakfast, snacks. So, you know, these are not snacks. These are not even desserts. These are just terrible. These are not snacks, okay? And, you know, if you like to use spreads as snacks, like try to avoid like these kind of spreads. I love this too. Like I love chocolate, and yeah, it's got hazelnuts on it, so it must be good for you. But I'm talking about much healthier snacks. Great snack, nuts. Here's some mixed nuts. And if you like nut butters, this is an unbelievable nut butter, Butterfly Superfoods. It's a mixture of, what do we got in here? Cashews, walnuts, macadamia nuts, no added sugar, okay? No added sugar. Or fruit. You know, we've got grapes. Grapes can be a great snack. I'm gonna have one right now because, you know, my blood sugar is crashing after the fake soda. And then getting fiber in your diet. So if you opt for non-processed foods, everything from, you know, vegetables like spinach or anything in the produce section where you're basically getting fiber, you're gonna start to balance out any kind of sugar you would have in your diet. Healthy fats, that's another one. I've got a beautiful avocado here. This is like a perfect nature's fat. Of course, there are also fat in nuts, and these healthy fats are great for you because they slow down the absorption of sugars in your bloodstream, and they make you feel satisfied for a significant amount of time. So those are just some things that you can start incorporating into your diet that will give you other options, that will keep you away from you know, the marketing campaigns that are just trying to hijack your system. And yeah, I think we've hit a lot of important topics. So just to review, we're talking about sugar. It's a very addictive substance, and like I said, in some studies have been shown to be just as, if not more addictive than things like cocaine. We are at a point where our food industry has evolved a lot faster than our brains, so we're kind of falling into this trap where we're being hijacked and we're being manipulated. And so really do your best to stay away from those high sugar, low fiber, low nutrient foods. Make healthy choices. Go to the perimeter of the supermarket instead of all the aisles in between, and get your fresh produce and your eggs and your dairy and your meats and fishes. Don't go to the boxed and cans and frozen areas. And that will start to give you power to fight back against anything that's trying to really destroy your health and destroy your body. So any comments, I'd be absolutely happy to read them. I know this probably sparked a lot of interest. Some things I say might seem a little controversial, but let me know. We can address them next time. And thank you for hanging with me. Again, I'm Dr. Keller, and I hope you learned something.